Hello, everyone. This is your host, Dr. Tomi Mitchell from the Mental Health and Wellness Show. Today, I have the pleasure of introducing Lisa Skeffington. She is a multi-award-winning psychotherapist, self-esteem expert, and executive coach with over 25 years in private practice. Founder of Empowered Momentum Limited, she blends psychotherapy, advanced hypnotherapy, and mentoring in a unique method she calls psychodynamic mentoring. Drawing on her own journey of overcoming trauma, Lisa supports women to step beyond anxiety, imposter syndrome, and burnout into resilience and power. With no further ado, Lisa, welcome to the show.
Hello, Tommy. Thank you very much for having me here on the show.
It is my pleasure. And in usual fashion, I always like to give our listeners a chance to hear about you, what makes you tick. So when we have these conversations, they kind of have a lens in which to hear and listen and watch you from. So maybe share with our listeners a few things about you that wasn't on your bio. That might be useful.
So I'm now living down on the Dorset coast in the UK. I'm not actually from the coast though down here. I've lived in London for many years and in the home counties, but I have a real passion for the sea. So
Mm,
being here at the beach is just my dream location, my dream come true, and it's an absolute joy for me to share it with my clients as well in a very unique way that I'll obviously tell you more about as we progress through our conversation today, I'm sure. So um, I have overcome for myself a fear of water, having nearly drowned as a child.
mm,
And I love the sea. I love being on the sea, in the sea. I'm actually looking to bringing some yachting escapes into my practice to really bring together this idea of just embracing the sea and the freedom that you have when you're out on the water. So I'm kind of a city girl who's moved down to the coast and loving life here. I'm a mum of two gorgeous grown-up children, beautiful humans. They are inside and out. I have a nice life, a nice, steady, comfortable life, which is a million miles from my childhood, let's say when I was growing up. If someone had said to me, let's say when I was 15, when I was caught up in nervous convulsions and, not a great place to be living, really contemplating ending my life a few times. If someone had said to me, this will be your life when you're in your 50s, I'd have grabbed it with both hands.
mm.
So yeah, I'm joining you today from a very, very comfortable, very happy place within myself and looking to bring some value and sprinkle some Lisa love as it's very, very known to your listeners.
That is beautiful, and that's powerful that you said that because it's so easy for listeners to look at us now but not know that we've been on a journey and you've been on a journey, right? And you acknowledge the challenges
Absolutely.
you had growing up, but that doesn't define you, right? You're
No.
here living your authentic life that you probably would never imagine by the water from a kid that almost drowned. You would think that that child would be staying away from water, but you're embracing the beach life in southern UK. That's beautiful. Yeah,
Thank you.
and I heard the accent because I actually used to live in England. That was my earlier childhood experiences. Never lived
Ah,
in
really?
Dorset, yeah,
Okay.
but yeah, so I was like,
Whereabouts in England were you?
all over. So
Roughly.
I started off in London, then like
Okay.
Leicester, Manchester, Oldham, Rotherham, over
Wow. Okay.
around a lot. Yeah.
Great.
So, and I will be in England very soon, when less than a year, well, depending on when this podcast is recording. I'm making another trip across the pond.
Oh,
So I am
great.
excited.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, so I'm curious, how did you become a psychotherapist? Like, how did this career journey go for you? Like, how did that happen?
Okay, so my career journey actually started in diplomatic work and investment banking.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Complete
complete,
like 180.
complete different. Yeah,
Yeah,
but it's given me, having that start. It has given me a really good insight into, the hidden stresses, if you like, of high-powered professional women.
definitely.
So. when I had to get out of a domestically violent home,
Mm-hmm.
and it was actually a teacher who helped me to get out. But I didn't go to. It was a good school, but it wasn't. In those days, to give you an idea, there were only a few people who did sort of higher level education. So
Yeah.
you got to know your teachers really well. And I was a topic of conversation often in the staff room, I think, at the school. So one of the teachers actually gave me his house as a
Wow.
springboard to safety. And I moved up to London in investment banking. And I'd always been quite good at languages, and I was working with languages, and just had that real itch to go travel. So I ended up living abroad for about 4 years, and then came home and worked in investment banking and diplomatic work. But I knew I was running from myself. One
Mm.
day a manager actually in the bank, he said to me, Lisa, your confidence is a great thing, but there's just the one thing for you to bear in mind is that it's a long way to fall. And he
Mm.
said it with such bitterness. And I thought, goodness, this act of pretending that I'm confident that I've got it all together is actually beginning to irritate people.
Wow.
I had this kind of place within myself where I felt, well, I've got out of my home environment, which I did question if I ever would. And I would pray to God to get me out.
Yes.
And I would pray to him, if I got out, that I would dedicate my life to
Mm.
helping other people not feel so trapped,
Mm.
and to find that sense of freedom and safety within themselves and within their environment. So through my work and realizing that I was, playing this role that wasn't really who I was, I kind of began to think, I should be doing different work that's more connected.
Yes.
So I retrained in interior design because, as we know, the home, is a reflection of the soul. It's
I
how we
agree.
express ourselves in the most
Mm-hmm.
private way.
Yeah.
But I was spending my time actually talking more about people's emotional problems and how to direct them through their displacement,
Mm.
than I was, with the actual design of things. And then I was married and I had my daughter, and I spiraled into an emotional breakdown. So my past just caught up with me. I really feared that the monster in my father was in me,
Mm.
and I would hallucinate. Oh, it was horrific. Agoraphobia, just real, just high anxiety and breakdown. So I found my way back through an amazing therapist at the time who did similarly to what I do now. So combining psychotherapy with hypnotherapy, using neurolinguistic programming, and I thought, I need to get back on that path that I promised God I would do when I was 15, when I was caught in all the nervous convulsions. And so I began, studying and retraining, and every day for 27 years now, I really feel that I'm doing God's work. I'm fulfilling that promise, and the difference that it makes by helping people find the resources within themselves. Because we're all strong, we're all confident, right? It just gets diluted. We lose it, don't we? We forget who we are.
Yeah.
We abandon ourselves so much, trying to please other people, trying to serve other people, to be accepted as enough, that we can lose ourselves. So
Mm.
helping people find their way back to themselves is is doing God's work for me
100%. That
every
is
day.
such a beautiful story. And honestly, I can relate to that pleading with God, bargaining with God, even as a teenager. Um, I had two moments in my life. One at around 15 when I was, um, thinking about, okay, I want to be a doctor down the road. And I'm like, God, please. Like
Mm.
it was hard getting into school and just like, I'm going to make a difference. God help me. I'll
Mm.
make a difference to people. I'll impact their families. And then the final one was once I got into residency, because that's when you have to train, right? And I was like bargaining. I'm like, God, please help me get into residency. I said, if I again realize this, I'm going to adopt like children, not like in my home, but I mean
Mm.
like through like a like I think it was anyway one of those nonprofit organizations, right? And but ironically, 2 months after residency started, I had finally broken away and moved out of my parents' house, even though they didn't want me to move out. And someone knocked on my door and they said, "Would you like to adopt children?" It was one of those companies. And I was just like, oh my goodness. And I did. And I did that for about 8 years. But yeah, I
Oh, amazing.
agree. That promise you made and you're honorable to keep it,
Mm.
it would honestly be a blessing to you and also the work that you do too for your clients. That peace, that authenticity, that love care you shower into them is like game changing. Like it's legacy building. It's generational traumas, curses as we call it in the faith world breaking. Do you know what I mean? Like a lot of people come
Absolutely.
from very hurtful backgrounds,
Mm.
and I think because you've seen that from your biological father, and parents are supposed to love their kids unconditionally, but that's not always
Mm.
the case.
It isn't.
And people
No.
like this, people who've only lived in like Happy Land, they don't often understand that. But for many of us who have gone through different traumas and people that were supposed to be, caring, it hits home.
Mm.
So I just want to say
Mm.
thank you. That's really powerful and it makes sense. This journey and being that you are a diplomat working with high performing individuals, that gives you a high level of communication skills that you had to learn, emotional
Yeah.
intelligence.
Yes. Yeah.
Sometimes you have to mask your face, mask your emotions because you're in a tense
Mm.
situation, right? Um,
Exactly. You have to appear steady.
exactly.
I appeared steady, confident, composed, but
Mm-hmm.
inside I was still that young girl
Mm-hmm.
believing that I wasn't enough, that sooner
Yeah.
or later the mask was going to come off and people were going to see that I didn't really know what I was doing, that I had these airs of grandeur as I'd been told all the
Mm.
time, kind of growing up.
Yeah.
And, and I think when we get, in our sort of formative years, really, it's incredible the impact that it has when we are subjected to a lot of sort of destructive criticism that creates doubt because we see our parents, no matter what they do,
Mm-hmm. Of
on high, don't we?
course.
And the natural instinct is, well, there must be something wrong with
Wrong with
me.
you.
If
Yeah.
I'm not even good enough for my parents to love me, to take care of me, to praise me, then how can I ever be good enough for anyone else?
Mm-hmm.
And we have to find, and whether it's through God, whether it's through the universe or whatever
Mm-hmm.
your belief system is, it can even be, the belief in a better day tomorrow, you know.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what we believe in, but we have to find something to believe in if we don't believe in ourselves at some point. If we don't
Yeah.
trust ourselves, we have to find something else to hang that trust on
100%.
so that we can create some sense of stability for us, But so many women live, and men too, obviously, but so many women especially live in this place where if a woman is criticized,
Mm-hmm.
and you'll know this, of course,
Oh
being
yeah.
a woman and also as a
Yeah.
professional, when a
Yeah.
woman is criticized, what do? We try harder,
Mm-hmm.
don't we? We
Mm-hmm.
work harder, we dig
Prove
deeper.
ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas a man will tend to
It's
withdraw
like,
and back off and say, well, you do it then, you
mm-hmm.
know. So that's the reason why so many wounded women push through and become super successful because they are always pushing beyond the
Proving.
wound.
You
They're
know what?
always proving, yeah, to the world, to
Yes.
themselves,
Yes.
that they are enough.
100%. And you know what? Your words remind me of my framework, and I'm going to share it with you. It's not in big magazines or journals yet, but it's when I look at burnout, okay? I know that's an area of one of your areas of interest and
Yeah.
definitely mine, but I take a different look. I redefine it. So
Hmm.
imagine a stool with three legs, okay?
Hmm.
And each of those legs represent one of the three critical relationships we all have. And you mentioned the first one that you struggle with, and I've struggled with. That's with self.
Mm.
Beliefs, doubts, identities, past experience, etc. That person that feels like they have to prove themselves for whatever reason, right? So that's one leg.
Yeah, yeah, get
The,
that.
the second leg is significant other, spouse, close confidant. If that
Mm.
relationship is strained, toxic, not fulfilling both ways,
Mm.
that's a weak leg. That's a weak relationship. And the third leg of the stool is relationship with work and society, right? If your workplace and then environment, the systems that you live in, if they are strained and they're and not in alignment with your values or what's going on in your life, you're going to struggle. So, like I said, a stool, three legs. And I love it how you mentioned faith because so many people in the professional world like to avoid this because they say it's religion, call it that which is greater. The
Mm.
fourth piece, which is very important, is the struts of the stool. That's what supports the legs. And that's your faith. That's that belief. So I
Mm.
say if any one of these legs, any one of these relationships is weak or broken, burnout thrives.
I can totally agree.
Right? That
Totally
makes
agree with that.
like
Yeah,
that's the truth.
that's
Burnout is
yeah.
not just a work issue because your
No,
work
it
your
isn't.
right? It's a combination. There's this Harvard study of adult development. It's the longest longitudinal study, 85 plus years, that shows the greatest predictor of happiness in life is not wealth, IQ, status, etc. It is the quality of our relationships. So the challenge I bring forth, if we know this, why aren't we looking at burnout through the quality of our relationships? Because at the end of the day, we are relationship oriented individuals, right? And the most
Yes,
important one is the one with ourselves. So
absolutely. This
women that
has to be holistic.
it has
It
to
has to
be.
be
Exactly.
holistic, doesn't
Yes.
it?
So that
You
is
know,
yes.
see, the thing is, and as you said, when there are malfunctions, let's say, with those
Mm-hmm.
three legs,
Relationship. Yeah, three
you
legs.
know, we overcompensate.
Yes.
Right, that and that's a woman trait, isn't it? Again, it comes back to that
100%. I've
trying
been there.
harder,
I
you
did
know?
that.
Well, and how do we overcompensate? We overthink for
Look.
ourselves. We
Mhm.
try to get it right.
Yes.
We overgive. So
Mm-hmm.
and we start to people please, which
Mm-hmm.
means we then abandon ourselves. We
Mm-hmm.
forget who we are. We
Yes.
make someone else's needs more important than ours. We blur our boundaries
Yes.
and we overperform. So we just keep trying harder and harder to be seen, to get it right, to be
Yes.
approved of. And in all of this, what happens, which, as you said with the struts, is what we need more than anything
Mm-hmm.
is to be real,
Yes.
isn't it? Is
Yes.
to be real in every aspect of our lives. It's like we don't have just a work persona. We
Mm-mm.
are multifaceted, aren't we?
Exactly.
We have
Exactly.
layers to us. And
100%.
if we are not real with people, whether they're at work, whether they're, in our personal
Mm-hmm.
relationships with our kids, adult kids, with our partner, with our friends,
Exactly.
with our neighbors, everybody, if we're not real, we can't really know connection. And without connection, as the soul again on a
Mm-hmm.
spiritual level, we're starved. We're
Exactly.
starved, aren't
And
we? So it
relationship.
has to be this
Uh-huh.
whole holistic approach. It is absolutely multi-layered. It isn't, just about, how we perform and if we stay at the office too long,
Yes.
if we don't, take holidays or we're too intense with the work that we have to do. It's understanding why that is. What are the drivers underneath us, isn't it? That's
100%.
that's pushing us
Yes.
to behave in that way.
100%. And you know how you mentioned that your work that your coworkers were like, Lisa, basically you're full of it, right? Like stop
Yeah,
pushing it.
you're gonna fall.
Yeah, right? And this is what I tell my patients and clients is you can only push so many things under the rug until you eventually trip
Mm,
on it. Like the
mm.
rug now becomes this mountain that you're trying to brush all this stuff and everyone's like, mm-hmm, we can see right
Yeah,
through you. Go deal with your
yeah,
stuff. right? And
Well,
then
this is because, yeah, because what's happening is we're pretending,
yeah,
aren't we? I
exactly.
was pretending. I
Mm,
was thinking that, I was young, and I was thinking that my bravado was carrying me through, that they couldn't see that I was really quaking inside, that I was really
exactly.
unsure and questioning all the time if all the messaging was right from when I was younger, that actually my parents did see me, especially my father, that he did see me more clearly than I saw myself, as he told me all the time.
Mm,
And actually he didn't. It was his own insecurities that were, mirroring, projecting
yeah.
forward to me. I mean, I often talk about, actually, with my clients, I've written about this as well, the game of what I call the game of back at you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very, very prevalent in the
Mm,
UK, certainly, and
mm-hmm.
I imagine it is as well in, certainly in Europe, but also in the US for sure, and
Mm-hmm.
Canada. And it's this lovely game of, in Britain, we love to say, "I'm fine, thank you. How are
Oh
you?
yeah.
Yeah, I'm fine, thank you.
Proper.
How are you? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I'm fine too, thank you."
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And it's, everyone's pretending.
Oh, totally pretend.
People get so worried, especially, young adults, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
People get so hung up on what other people think of them, of how they
Mm-hmm.
are coming across, of how they're sounding, of, just every measure of judgment against them. So they go into this role, behind, put on the mask and go into a place of trying to be the person they think
Mm-hmm.
the
They
other
should be.
person wants to see, you
Yeah.
know. But actually, the truth is, everyone's so wrapped up in themselves that they don't really notice as much about the other person as we think they do.
Mm-hmm. Very true.
And
Very
it's just
true.
this game of back at you, isn't it? If we were just real, if
Mm-hmm.
we take that away and be real and say, do you know what? Actually, I'm having a really tough day today. I didn't sleep well last night. I'm on the back foot. This hasn't gone well for me today. I'm really needing this conversation to turn things around for me. It
Mm.
can spark something in the other person that allows some vulnerability. And that's where connection really happens. And that's where healing
Yeah.
begins as well, because all the time we're pretending,
Mm-hmm.
we can never heal ourselves. We can
Understood.
never open up enough to be honest with ourselves. It's about, not being perfect, isn't it? It's about
Yeah.
being honest.
100%. And taking the time to listen and pause and the other person to receive the information, respond. So there's a dialogue. I feel like as a
Mm,
society, we've forgotten how to dialogue, to how to
I agree.
communicate. It's like, quick emojis, very fake and very like superficial. And
Yeah.
and I'm not surprised that we have all these crises in mental health and burnout and all that stuff going on because it's a symptom of the
Mm,
problem of the relationship, the communication. We're not in community with each other and we're not keeping it real. And that's why when I said at the beginning, when I said, tell me a little about you, and I told you about me, I don't sugarcoat things. I say the truth in love, right? If we sugarcoat things, you just end up with a cavity, end up with a root canal. But our world sugarcoats sugar, right? Like we sugarcoat like pretty much everything, and it's not helping us.
mm.
Um, in your work, you mentioned you do psychodynamic mentoring. What
Yes.
is it, and why do you feel this is so important when helping your clients work through imposter syndrome or
Mm,
burnout? I want to touch base on that a little bit.
okay. So I have, over the years, experienced, obviously a side of therapy for myself
Yes.
years ago. And also just clients coming to me who've been through different, models of different kinds of talking therapies, from psychiatry through down through, through to counseling. And some of them had been in therapy or psychiatry for many, many years. Some had been written off and just said, you're beyond help. And they just were misunderstood and so frustrated and understandably quite cynical and skeptical. And whilst I'm very professional in the way that I work, I treat everyone from within myself when I meet somebody, whether it's online or whether it's, in person, as a friend I haven't yet got to know.
Yes.
So I'm assuming an immediate connection with that person
Mm.
by being very real myself. And it's not about, for me, therapy is not about fitting people into boxes, into kind of diagnosing, if you like, and saying you need CBT or you need counseling or you need hypnotherapy or you need NLP or you need EMDR, or you need counseling or you need marriage guidance or, it's endless, isn't
Mhm.
it?
Exactly.
And it comes back to this holistic thing
Mhm.
again, that it
Mhm.
is understanding the person, meeting the person where they are at, being brave enough as a practitioner to hold them in their place of need, of distress, and not try to be scripted or fit things that suit
A narrative.
the therapist,
Yep.
that actually suit the individual, that really listens, that really is a very intensely person-centered way
Mhm.
of working that allows them to be vulnerable, that allows them to see themselves in a very communicative process. So, I'm trained in a number of different modalities of therapy. So I combine a number of therapies without naming them, without labeling them and
Yes.
limiting things,
I agree.
but to treat the individual very much, or to hold the individual, not treat, but to hold the
Mhm.
individual very much in a way that we just draw on wherever we need to go, whenever we need to go there, trusting that it's a process that is gathering momentum as we go.
Mhm.
Whether we do that as, a private, discreet, discerning coastal escape here on the Dorset coast, which I do for 2 days, it collapses time, super effective. People feel very held, very safe. It's the best expression of my Lisa love, of
Mm.
people coming in and under my wing and into safety. And we work however we need to work with whatever modality of therapy. You know, that's why I call it psychodynamic mentoring. It's a mix of psychodynamic therapy with with all the different aspects that go with it, whether it's NLP, CBT, you know, integrative counseling, EMDR, trauma-informed therapies, whatever it is, inner child therapy, timeline therapy, so many different types of therapy. And they're just names of
I
therapy.
agree.
It's really about just holding and working together, but also the mentoring of it comes in where it's very much about the communication. So many things, even, for you, Tommy, as you were saying, with, you don't sugarcoat things in love, it's, so many people tiptoe around other people because they don't know how to actually communicate clearly and calmly, with vulnerability in a way that is very connecting. So I combine, you know, therapies with communication, mastery, which allows people to not only understand themselves, to then be able to begin to move forward. They have that dialogue with themselves as much with other people. And that awareness leads to effective reframes,
Mhm.
leads to incredible empowerment. That
Mhm.
is a momentum gathering exercise. That's why my practice is called empowered momentum,
Mhm.
because we understand, we empower, and then we gather the momentum going forward. One of my lovely clients, she speaks of this actually on my behalf, which is beautiful. And she says, the boulder started moving. The boulder had been there all her life.
Mm.
And, we got the boulder moving, and she said it hasn't stopped. It
Mm.
hasn't stopped. Her life has completely transformed. It's beautiful. She had, I do a lot of work, not only with burnout, that burnout's a symptom, isn't it, as we
Of
know?
course,
And
that's I agree.
yeah,
Yeah,
you get
what a
this
diagnosis.
fatigue, isn't there? People get incredible fatigue, chronic fatigue,
Yeah,
You have pain, headaches, fibromyalgia.
yeah,
They're all attached to trauma. They're all
yeah,
attached to emotional wounding.
yeah,
So when you release yourself from that,
yeah.
they go. They
You
don't
heal,
need
you transform.
to be there. Yeah, they're messengers, aren't they? It's the tap on the shoulder that if you
Yeah,
don't listen, I think it was Phil McGraw, Dr. Phil McGraw years ago,
yeah,
when I was in my early 20s, I remember him saying, if you don't listen to the tap on your shoulder,
yeah.
God's going to come along and drop a great big piano on you
Right?
and say,
Yeah,
now listen. It's that
absolutely.
line, isn't it? If our body could talk, what would it say?
Oh,
It's
yes,
always trying to communicate with us, but we have to listen. We have to be
100%.
real.
And I love it how you recognize, as I do, like this different modalities that you sprinkle in. You kind of, it's not scripted. And I find a
Exactly.
lot of therapy is so scripted. They want to stay in this one lane. Oh, I do
Exactly. Safe.
CBT.
Yeah.
I do, this
Yeah.
is all we do. And a lot of
Yeah.
my patients come to me and say they've been to therapy for years and it's not effective for them.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So,
Mm,
even in my practice, I don't use the labels, but I mean, I've done NLP and I've done this and done this.
mm,
It's like we'll
mm.
have those conversations and then we'll start that journey, and the weight they
Exactly.
lifted off their shoulder is profound. And we get
Yes.
so much done. And I think for me as a clinician, the challenging part is finding somebody like a therapist, psychotherapist who can continue that work
Hmm.
for me, right? Like there's
Okay.
only so much I can
Yeah.
take on when, you're
Yeah.
dealing with other things from, you
Mm,
know, pregnancy and chronic disease and all these other things you do with a family doctor. But it's so
mm.
refreshing,
Oh,
honestly,
thank you.
you're
Yeah.
welcome, to hear this because this is not how most traditional
No.
therapists, mental health professionals are taught or they practice. It's
Absolutely.
very
It's
box
it's
like.
it's it's so well, catastrophic is putting it mildly, isn't it? It's heartbreaking when you're
100%.
very heart-led, as I'm sure you are too,
Yes.
and I don't my one of the things I say often is that, you don't struggle when you don't need to.
Need to.
It
Exactly.
is that you just need the right help.
Yes.
People have said to me, through market research, through so many conversations over the years, I just need some actual proper help,
Yeah.
something that actually
Yeah.
works.
Yeah.
And what makes the difference is it not being safe for the therapist, it being safe for the client.
Yes. I am so glad you mentioned that, not just like about not being safe with the therapist, safe for the client. Um,
Mm,
I have found that because I consider myself quite intuitive, whether therapists, healers, doctors, whoever, if they
mm,
haven't done their own healing work,
yeah,
they don't know how to
that's rooted.
explore.
Yeah,
Yeah. Like
yeah,
I see some, like I'm thinking like, sis, you gotta work on this. Because it is,
yeah,
I see those blinders, like it's impacting your ability to care for your clients. Like I
yeah,
see that. I almost feel like in therapy
absolutely.
school or whatever it is, it's like even physicians, especially well, as a doctor, you need to work on yourself. Really.
Absolutely, you do.
Like
You
that
need to have
counter transference.
really, really good awareness, don't
Yeah.
you, of yourself, and you can't get that perspective. I don't know if you're aware of there's a strengths testing I did recently at an event that I was speaking at, that
Hmm.
was the Clifton strengths testing.
Okay.
And my number one strength is as a strategist. And I have this ability that I thought was just intuition, or that it was God coming through me,
Yeah.
because, again, hypnotherapists sometimes, especially can be a little bit guilty of this. I'm
Mm-hmm.
quite now putting my head above the parapet and just saying it like it is because I think it's really important to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the work doesn't come from us. We don't heal other people. We
Mm-mm.
don't do that.
Mm-mm.
We encourage, we facilitate
Mm-hmm.
people to heal themselves.
Yes, people to heal themselves. The beautiful thing is humans, we have this ability to heal ourselves. That's what's the ball in our court.
It
We're
does.
not,
It
yeah, we're
does.
not inherently broken or flawed,
No,
right?
no,
Like
we're
that's
not. And something else that I feel is very important that I've helped a lot of other therapists,
hmm
people in the mental health industry to do this as
yeah.
well. And it's about, so often in this, needing to feel safe, for someone as a therapist, but maybe because there's a fear of being sued if they get it wrong, or of being not being seen as being competent, perhaps
Mm.
that they need things to be scripted sometimes, that they need to really kind of stay very tight, that their focus is on them,
Yeah.
not
The
not
client.
on the client. So which
Yeah.
leaves the client then feeling quite vulnerable and
Yeah.
quite exposed. And what happens
Mm.
is the client then continues to play out a drama that they often play out in their life. So actually,
More harm is done.
therapy isn't honest.
Yeah.
So you can't really move the needle and get that real transformation unless the client can be fully themselves in that space. So
Yeah.
sometimes what I've seen and experienced as well is that therapists can sometimes give too much of themselves,
Mm.
in that attempt to try to fix,
Mm.
to try to be the one that holds the responsibility for the
Yes.
process.
Mm.
And doing that, they can almost leap into the hole where the client is.
Mm. Yeah.
And that's not a good place because you're too close to it. You can't work there, can you?
No.
And, I work very much, one of the sort of foundations, if you like, of my practice
Mm.
is the idea that we meet someone in the middle place.
Yes.
Rumi, the fabulous, philosopher from
Mm.
centuries ago, has a great quote, which I'll, shorten.
Mm-hmm.
But it is, there is a place beyond right doing and wrong doing.
Mm.
I'll meet you there.
Mm.
And that's what I use when I'm working with every client. So it's like I unfold to a middle place
Yes.
and I invite the client to unfold into that place too. And that's where we work, whether
Yeah.
it's in real time or whether it's, online, out in the ether. That's where it's effective, isn't it? That's where we
Mm.
give of ourselves into that place. We're
Mm.
not, giving too much of ourselves when we're not staying too much within ourselves,
Mm.
trying to to get things right, trying to use the right strategy and say the right things. We're just there, we're being. It comes back to this
Mm.
being, doesn't it? Not
Yeah.
doing. And that's
Yeah.
where the magic happens, isn't it? That's where, women find that courage
Mm.
to actually face their demons and
Yeah.
let them go.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. You said it beautifully. Courage and facing those demons. You have to deal with them. You have to work through them.
Mhm.
Um, wow, this is beautiful. So I know that you do like a lot of your work is virtual, and some people do come to Dorset to see you.
Mm.
How about for individuals who are, let's say, in Canada, the US, can they work with you and how can they? Because I really want to make sure that my listeners, if they resonate with this message, can reach out to you because I honestly think
Okay.
you're amazing. How does
Thank
that
you.
work?
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
So yes, I have clients all over the world.
Okay.
So I work online
Mm-hmm.
over Zoom,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes Teams, depending
Yep.
on the client's preference. But my preference is Zoom. Actually, I love Zoom.
Me too.
Yeah, it's like my second home, Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
So the best way, so there's a little kind of process that they can go through, which is really simple. Um, and in fact, I've created a set page that they can go to
Mm-hmm.
that is called welcome.empoweredmomentum.com. I'll say it
Okay.
again, welcome.empoweredmomentum.com.
Okay. Thank you.
And on that page, they will find as a first step, I've provided three different options for them actually. It's always good to have a choice, isn't it? It's
Mm-hmm.
empowering to have a choice.
Mm-hmm.
So they can take my quiz. There's a quiz there that is called your self-esteem reality check, where they can very privately, for just a few minutes, start the ball rolling, start the boulder moving,
Mm-hmm.
with looking at how their needs are, how their beliefs are, how their feelings are that are attached to those unhealed emotional wounds that they may have tried to forget are there.
Mm-hmm.
And I then invite them to book a results call with me, and we'll dive into it and help them to understand what's going on for them, how they're getting in their own way, what they can do, with some really simple but real sort of deep dive strategy to help them to begin to move forward for themselves. Another option they have is to get a preview of my latest book.
Mm-hmm.
That's I have it here. It's from Anxious to Empowered.
Nice.
That's me on my beautiful beach here. And in fact,
Mm-hmm.
my daughter took that photo for me. It's the real icing on the cake for me. That.
Nice.
And yes, there's an option to buy any of my three books, three published books on the page, but also to get a preview of that book there for free too. And to book a call with me, quite simply, if they would like a conversation with me to look at how I can best support them, either through a private workshop, as a half day or week or over 3 months or 6 months, they can come under my wing and into real safety to allow them to find their way forward, to keep burnout well at bay, to rebalance themselves emotionally, and to really be real with themselves so that they can really deepen their connections
That
in their
is
life and in
so
their work.
beautiful. I will definitely include those details in the show notes. Lisa,
Thank you.
honestly, you've been a breath of fresh air. You really are like amazing, and
Thank you.
I
That's
feel
really
your
kind. Thank you.
yeah, you get it. You understand the holistic approach. One of my coaching business is called Holistic Wellness Strategies, and I don't believe wellness is by accident. There has to be a holistic strategy. Like it
Absolutely.
just has to be. It's not by accident in this chaotic world. You have to work on it and you have to have a plan. And you can be
Mm.
definitely part of a plan to help individuals who are struggling with their demons, who have pushed things under the rug for sometimes decades, right? And it's
Mm.
it's hitting them, but they don't have to live in pain. They can
No, they
thrive.
don't.
They can have that
They
transformation.
don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, maybe, just as a closing comment, really, that,
Yeah.
so many high performing, high achieving women, whether they're in leadership,
Mm-hmm.
running their own business, or even
Yeah.
in the public eye, they're running from anxiety
Yep.
because anxiety doesn't feel like a good thing to own.
Mm-mm.
And we don't want to own it. That's the
Mm-mm.
point of my first two books, actually, about not
Yeah.
owning anxiety. That's
Mm.
why we need to break up with it. But anxiety gets masked then as ambition,
Yes.
as passion, as
Yes.
drive.
Yes.
Like overworking is a good thing, but
Mm.
actually, all the time you're running from yourself, and
Yep.
it's maybe one day for your own well-being.
Mm-hmm.
It's good to stop running.
100%. Well, thank you. With those words, listeners, I hope you've enjoyed this conversation. I definitely would. I would continue, but for the sake of time, we are going to wrap it up. If this message resonated with you, feel free to share it, like it, leave a 5-star review so other people can listen to these conversations and start or continue that journey of healing and transformation. Lisa, thank you for being here. And thank you again, listeners, for sharing your most precious resource, which is your time. And I don't take that for granted. So until next time, this is your host, Dr. Tomi Mitchell from the Mental Health and Wellness Show.